Yes. Hello, welcome to Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. here at the ACC. I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour. We'll be focusing on relaxing through the latter half of today's class with some poses that may require some blocks, extra blankets, a strap, or even a bolster. I do have a small one today to help demonstrate. So other than that, we have our usual warm-up of about 5 minutes, modified sun salutation, and a standing pose to increase our focus, our balance, bone density, and then we'll be making our way down to the mat. So having some of your props ready, including a chair if you don't have a wall nearby, if your balance is a little off during the balance exercises, just have something nearby that you might be able to hold on to, or like a chair, bring to support you if you need. So starting at the back of the mat, we'll go ahead and just begin to arrive. There's no need to change the quality of your breath. Just allow yourself to simply notice how you're arriving to class today. If you feel the legs are a little tighter, just a gentle bend to the knees as we're standing in our home base of mountain. Noticing how the mat feels under our feet. And as we move along, focusing a little more on each passing inhale and exhale. As we do so, the body begins to quiet down. And the breath rate slows. Let's begin to cultivate the breath. Bringing the left hand to rest gently on the chest, right hand underneath the belly. Go ahead and breathe through the next few breath cycles, noticing how the energy transforms in the body, moves the shoulders up, perhaps at the top of the inhale. And as it leaves the lungs, gentle press of the belly hand to help expel the air on each exhale. And as we definitely have a slower breath now than when we started, we'll bring some space to the back of the throat. See if you can hear the ocean. Deep sigh to help finish developing your ujjayi breath, that more deeply relaxed breath. Let's go ahead and bring our hands down to our sides. We'll start bringing body and movement, breath together. So go ahead and lift up the toes if you need, heels. And we'll start focusing on our mountain. With the next inhale, feel that energy lifting up through your mountain, from the feet all the way up the back, through to the crown of the head. On the exhale, feel the energy reverse order, returning down to the mat, to the earth, and feeling rooted at the bottom of the exhale. With the next inhale, we're going to start to roll the center of gravity towards the toes, just till you feel that tipping point. Take the next breath, start to roll the weight towards the heels. And we're just getting a mental mapping of the the heel to toe foundation. And then we can return to center after a few breaths. Dropping into our mountain, resetting, inhaling taller, a little longer. Energized upwards, we're just going to roll the weight at the feet towards the outer right edge of the sole of the feet. Go ahead, inhale back up to center. Exhale over to the other side for a 3-part breath. Or just use each inhale and exhale to go from side to side. Try to keep the legs long in just an upright body to find that mapping at the horizontal line now. And then we'll meet back at center. Resetting the mountain once more. Inhaling nice and tall. Gentle tuck of the chin. Let's start to make small circles, radiating from the ankles out towards the perimeter of the feet in one direction. Might be a little choppy, might be nice and smooth. Just notice how it is. Once you find that edge of the perimeter, go ahead and tighten in the circles. We'll return to center in our mountain. And resetting once more, inhaling nice and tall. Go ahead and circle in the opposite direction and notice any differences here. Trying to maintain that length from the heels all the way through to the crown of the head while still radiating outwards to that edge. And then circling back to the center when you've explored the edge. And dipping back into our mountain, let's go ahead and release any grip of the feet. You can just release the feet, bend the knees, give yourself any additional movement in the body, release any residual activation. And then we'll move to opening up the hips and oiling them up just a little bit. Inhaling nice and tall, bringing standing weight to the left leg, feeling stacked joints from the ankles to the knees to the hips, hopefully on up towards the shoulder. And then balancing, we're just going to bring the right knee towards the inner and then outer rotation, and then letting the right foot land. We'll do a total of 4 of these just to see where the right hip opening is feeling, whether it's stiff, whether it's feeling a little better. And yes, we're still maintaining a little balance too. As you're done with your 4th one, we'll return to mountain. Standing weight one more time, but this time we're still bending, rotating the right hip, but this time from an outer to an inner rotation. Total of 4. Just move to see if you can lubricate that right hip in this opposite motion. And then let that land, giving yourself a nice little reset, bending movement, just to kind of reset and coming back to the mountain, nice and tall. Standing weight now to the other side, right leg. And once that's established, you're feeling that balance, go ahead and internally to externally rotate the hip. Let the left leg, foot land. And you're just, again, finding lubrication and that state of flexibility. Is it stiff? Is it loose? And when you come back to your mountain, we'll reset once more. Standing weight to the right leg. And repeat, but this time from an outer to an inner rotation. Making the movement, exploring in small ways until you find you have that space to do so. Okay, then we'll return to mountain and move on up to the body. As we move towards the shoulder warm-up, we're finding that our mountain is hopefully getting a little longer, a little taller, everything's stacking. So that eventually by the time we're here at the shoulders rolls, we have our shoulders above our hips, above our knees, above our ankles, and a gentle tuck of the chin so that the crown of the head feels lifted towards the ceiling, like a string pulling it up towards the ceiling. Energizing upwards, we're just feeling the shoulders lift with the inhale, and then exhale, roll them back and down. Just let them release. Total of 4 of these. Inhales are always up, go the shoulders, but rolling back and down on the exhales for this first set. Total of 4. You can really use your ujjayi breath to find length and release with the inhale and the exhale. And then the second set, We're inhaling the shoulders up and rolling forward on the exhale, still tucking in the points of the shoulder blades at the bottom of the exhale, in towards the mid-back. And the breath is coming in and out of the nose. Go ahead after your last one. Reset once more into our mountain, and we're coming up to the crown of the head, opening the throat, the neck, hopefully the mouth and jaw. So feeling lifted with the next inhale. Exhale, let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Fully exhaled here, draw the belly button in towards the spine. Inhale, lift up the chest. Exhale, turn the gaze. Use the next couple of breaths, 2-3 breaths. See if you can release further that left side of the neck. It's simply turning the gaze to the right. Notice if your palms are in or out. It helps to keep the shoulders open by simply pointing the palms forward. After your very last exhale, let's go ahead and inhale the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale over to the other side. Inhaling to feel length, exhaling to turn the gaze, feeling rooted, and breathe. Last exhale, last inhale. Let's go ahead and inhale the eyes, the head, completely back up. And then exhale, allow the eyes to float down towards the top of the mat. Give yourself the next 4 breath cycles here. See if you can feel even a gentle lifting up with each inhale at a slight tilt forward at the crown of the head. Feel that length in the back of the neck without sacrificing too much space underneath the chin. Feeling that lengthening, the opening at the base of the neck, top of the shoulders, palms facing forward. Notice if you're rolling at the soles of the feet. Try to have an even distribution, flat feet on the floor. After your very last exhale, let's go ahead and inhale the eyes up towards the midline, past the midline, until you can see the ceiling somewhat above you. Stop craning the neck. And go ahead and give yourself the next 4 breath cycles to release the neck, and the jaw, and the tongue. And just let the tongue loll out. And giving yourself those deep ujjayi breaths. After the very last breath cycle, go ahead and inhale. Let the eyes return to center. And give yourself any movement, shaking out the feet, the hands, the wrists, the shoulders. And we're going to start our modified Sun Salutations. So rolling on the feet just to get our mountain. Resetting once more. Let's go ahead and start reaching downward. Nice and tall mountain, feeling energized all the way through the crown of the head. We're going to inhale, extended arms above the head. And at the top of the inhale, you can reach up with the torso and then engage the core, hold a long back and start folding, hinging with that slow exhale, walking the hands down if you need or just floating on down till you find somewhat of a fold for your first extended fold of our practice. Your shoulders should be relaxed. Your arms should be relaxed. Maybe the forearms are supported by the thighs. Maybe your arms are just dangling like wet noodles in front. But you're giving yourself an extended forward fold just to give the body some time to unfold. Just takes deep breathing, just an ability to allow the body to unfold. You can gently nod the head no, yes. Maybe even let it dangle with the help of gravity. See if you're holding on to your head. And if you can imagine the support from the tailbone down to the heels with a bend to the knees if you're feeling tightness in the legs, we're hopefully releasing from the tailbone down the spine, down the neck, even to that crown of the head. So if you're lifting the head, if you're looking above, really let your sight just rest right below the soft gaze, and think about the crown of the head just releasing closer and closer to the mat. Maybe your hands are touching the mat, your feet, the ankles, the shins. Maybe it's the forearms on the thighs. But after your very last exhale, and I'm sure we're there, we're going to slowly roll out, but we need to engage our core. Start to press into the feet, firm up the legs, start to curl up the spine. You can even walk the hands up the body to help unfurl the spine, straightening up at the top so that the head is the very last to stack on the neck, palms facing forward, shoulders and arms relaxed at the side. Take a breath, let the blood rush back to the head. We'll do that one more time. One more fold, so reaching downward. Let's inhale, extend the arms up, energizing upwards, lengthening. Engage the core and hinge at the hips. Firm up the legs. Walk the hands down if you need, or float on down to your second fold. We're only taking about 3 breaths here. You might sway the hips from side to side. You might bend one knee, bend the other. And just see if you can lengthen a little more. Or release a little more in the neck and head. And then with the next inhale, we're going to come up with a slow roll up or with a long back. Long back, we're going to engage the core, long arms, inhale, power up with the inhale. Walk the hands up if you need, or slow roll up. At the top, hands come together for a prayer, down, heart center. Fully exhaled here. Let's begin our walking meditation. Pressing into the palms, stabilizing the core. Let's lift the right foot. Exhale the heel, ball of foot, toes down. Inhale. Exhale. Pressing into the palms, engaging the core to help maintain or regain balance. We're making our way to the top of the mat. One breath cycle, one full step. Inhale, let's watch the fingertips rise at the top of the mat. Fully inhaled at the top where you can separate the palms. Exhale, fold. Hinging at the hips, float on down, walk the hands down. Fully exhaled here, we're going to inhale, press into wherever your contact with your hands are, or forearms, so you can lengthen through the back. We're doing a half lift at maybe a 90-degree angle here at the hips, maybe a little less, but do your best to lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And then exhale back to the fold. Place the hands to either side of the feet and press the right foot and left foot back behind you. And we're going to inhale, shoulders over the wrists for our first high plank. Bring down the knees, untuck the toes, and modify this high plank to your ability. Your hopefully shoulders are over the wrists. If you find that you're a little exceeding that point, maybe a little too far forward, you can always lift the knees and walk them a little bit back. Give yourself a total of 3 full breath cycles here, and hopefully you're looking down at about the top of the mat, and the core is engaged. Let's go ahead and inhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips, and exhale, press the hips back to our first down dog. Taking a deep breath or 2 or 3. We're coming into at least 5 deep breath cycles in this first down dog of our practice. So give yourself a chance to explore how your body feels here. Your hands and your feet, that distance between them. We want to achieve an upside down V, so you may need to step up. You may need to step back a little bit, but you want to feel that energy of the hands and the feet going downward while the hips are lifting upwards. And hopefully the head is somewhere in between the upper arms. Taking that deep breath, engaging the core. You can always walk this dog. Bend one knee, bend the other. In those slow, deep breath cycles. Inhaling for length, pressing into the hands and the feet. Exhaling, drawing the core, the apex of your upside down V towards the ceiling. And with the next inhale, we're going to roll the eyes towards the hands. And then exhale, bend the knees if you need. We're going to walk our hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, extend the arms, engage the core, come on up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. Inhale for the next walking meditation. Inhaling, right foot up. Exhaling, right foot down. Your gaze can be soft, your movement coordinated with the breath until we reach the top of the mat. And at the top of the mat, we look down at the fingertips. Inhale, watch them rise. Separating at the top of the mat here, let's exhale, hinge at the hips, bend the knees if you need. Come on down for the fold. Fully exhaled, let's inhale. Exhale, plant the hands, step a long right leg, a long left leg for our high plank. Strong high plank. Make sure your core is engaged, belly button sticking to the spine as much as you can. Inhaling, exhaling. Heels to the crown of the head. One nice long diagonal. Then let's lift up the hips. Exhale, hips back to our second down dog. Give yourself more of your adjustments. Maybe you can inhale to the tiptoes and then exhale, slowly lower the heels. See if that helps you find a little more space and release in the calves and the Achilles heel, hamstrings, and making any other movement. And after that, we'll go ahead and roll the eyes towards the hands with the next inhale. And then exhale, engage the core, and come on back to your fold at the back of the mat. Fully exhaled here. We inhale for a half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core. Extend the arms. Come on up with your inhale. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And finally down to the side. Let the breath catch up. And then we'll go ahead and move into our standing poses. So after our modified Sun Salutations, we're a little warmer. It's a good time for some water. I'm going to get some. And to start bringing in any props that you might need. If you have a balance issue, get a chair next to you so you can kind of put your hand next to it. Step hopefully nearer to a wall. If your balance is pretty good, you should be all right with just something nearby. If not, you may just need to be near a wall. So on this side, I'm just going to set about 2 of these legs on to the mat to help stabilize. But in this standing pose, I'm off the mat. I just want to show you when we're standing in our mountain, you can have this idea when you have the chair next to you of how long our mountain should be. When I first started in the morning, I'm still kind of tented in my hips, my knees, my shoulders, my back is still kind of pitched forward. So as I get longer and stronger in my mountain, we're getting a little taller. And eventually we're just getting a little more into that stacked joint position that I referred to a great deal, where our ankles are underneath the knees, under the hips, under the shoulders, and eventually the chin, even a gentle tuck. So what eventually starts like this will hopefully look like this, a little taller as we come to our standing. So feet are about hips distance apart, and the hips, we're hopefully going to keep them sort of like in this plane, parallel to the back of the chair. And this will be our midpoint. as we're standing here in our mountain, you can hold on to the chair back if you need to, if you feel wobbly at all, but if you can't, try to keep the hands at the side. And all you're going to do is start to lift up. Feel from the trunk, from that point of the spine, just lifting up through to the crown of the head here, just this energized uplift. And as you're there, you can start to take this left leg, start to inch it slightly back behind this point where the right leg is. We're going to count the original position of your feet, the home base of mountain, as our point, our midline point. And as you walk this left leg back, you start to open up the hip. And you can see it's now extended further back than when it naturally is in our standing position. And this just helps us to counter stretch all that habitual tenting of our hips as we're sitting, as we're always flexing the hips in a sitting position, squatting position. So this is a nice way to just lengthen and open through the hips while we're standing. It requires our focus and our balance as well. Let's go ahead and start moving this left foot back to center. And then let's just give ourselves a nice little bounce in the knees, kind of to reset. And that actually helps us to release in the right side, the right buttock. Because as you know, when we're standing, sometimes we forget to shut off those muscles we've just activated. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So standing nice and tall, hopefully lengthening in our mountain, getting a little taller. Again, feeling like that string is pulling us at the crown of the head. And then here, we can start to bring our center into play and then start to move the right foot back behind the left leg. And as you can see, we don't need to go too far back. If you can just even move an inch, a half an inch, a fraction backwards, you're opening up that hip from its original spot in mountain. And if you have to, once more, holding on to the chair, a wall, something if you feel like you need to stabilize. We're just taking a few breaths here, feeling lengthening. And then let's go ahead and walk the right foot back to center, back to that original spot. Give yourself a nice little bounce once more. It's a very subtle movement, but you'll feel it, especially if you're very tight in the hips, in the quads. And we're going to do one more set, but this time we'll introduce an arm stretch. So we do want to hold the back of the chair or something at this point, because if you have an arm up and a leg back, you're going to be challenged with your balance. So we'll do that. We're going to find that stability in our mountain. We're going to hold on to the back of the chair or to the wall, and then we'll lift the arm and start to walk the left leg back. Only so much that you can feel that opening, just as we did before. But this time, imagine the extension of that point from your toes all the way up to your fingertips is one long length. What we're trying to do is inhale, lengthen, exhale, feeling rooted in this side of our mountain. One more deep inhale, reach, and then exhale, let this left arm go back to center, return to center to the side, and then walk the left foot forward and let your mountain come back. You could roll the weight on your feet, redistribute, reset the mountain once more, bouncing if you need, and then we'll move to the other side. We're going to go ahead and hold the chair or the wall with our left hand and then lift up with the right arm, extending straight up, and then walking the right foot back. It might just be a fraction of an inch, just to feel that opening in the right hip. And then take the next few breath cycles. Feel that lengthening. See if you can connect that point from the toe as if it's one long energy line to the fingertips of the right hand. Each inhale is just lengthening, feeling the stretching. Each exhale is just solidifying the root, the center. And then come out after your very last exhale. You can go ahead and inhale And let the arm release down towards the side with the exhale. And bring the right foot forward. Back to mountain. And then release. Go ahead and bounce once more. And so that was just one way of opening up, lengthening, feeling that lengthening with hopefully some support to the side. Now we're going to come back down to the mat, and we'll, last week we did a lot of squatting and kneeling positions. So here's where your bolster, your blocks, blankets are really going to help, especially if you have, achy knees or whatnot. So we'll make our way down to the mat, and we'll start in a hero pose. So if you like a blanket underneath the knees, let's go ahead and set that up. And I've got a very small bolster here, which is great if the blocks don't help you in this position, supporting the hips as you're making that space, the distance between the hips and the heels meet. Now for some of us, we can do that, but as we come into hero and our knees are and shins are together, we may need a block to help us meet the distance between the heels and the hips. And if you are really needing extra support, even higher than the block, you might need the bolster, but then you'll need to open up the knees just a little bit and bring the bolster in between, and you just sit at the end. So eventually what we're doing in our hero, and depending on where you are in yours, we're just eventually getting to that point of cultivating the foundation. The tops of the feet are on the mat. The heels are supporting the sits bones. If anything, maybe the sits bones might sit in between the heels if the heels roll outward. But the knees are together. If you're feeling strain there, you can always keep the knees a little farther apart. But as we're here in our hero position and the foundation is set, then we can think about straightening up through the torso, eventually pitching the spine perpendicular to the pelvic bowl, to the mat. We just want that nice 90-degree angle if we can. If this is too much for you, you can always stay in this base hero position with the palms supporting the weight to help you control how much pressure, how much weight weighs down the hips onto the heels. Now we've been here for at least 5 breath cycles. See if you need to come out. You can always walk up. But if you can hang out for 1, 2 more breath cycles, wherever you are in your hero, and then we can walk the hands forward. If you're upright, let's lift the hips off of the heels. And we're just going to make a little space between the feet. See if you can just open up that distance between the feet and keep the knees as close together as possible. We're moving into a fixed Fern position. Now this might be a little more difficult, so maybe you need 2 blocks, maybe on a higher setting. Maybe you don't even make that connection between the hips and the blocks. Wherever you are, you can stay here in your initial fixed Fern and make your way lower till eventually the hips are in between the heels. And eventually as your hips are lowering towards the mat and your feet move out, your pizza slice gets a little wider at the base and your thighs are internally rotating slightly forward. And again, if this is not in your wheelhouse, you can always stay here with the torso supported by the arms and the shins and the tops of the feet supporting in this more of a tabletop position as you're making your way to fixed Fern. Now, give yourself 1 more deep breath cycle, inhaling and exhaling. And to get out, we'll just simply walk the hands forward, helping to lift the hips off of the heels. You can use gorilla knuckles if you need to, and then pivot those ankles in toward each other and start to move the knees outward, just a little wider than before. If you have a very deep child's pose that you would like to use, go ahead and do so. But first get your knees in that position and then start once more lowering the hips towards the heels, giving yourself at least 3 to 5 good breath cycles here. We're moving slowly as we're really rotating through the hips, the knees, opening up the ankles. And once you've found your base position of child's pose, maybe your toes are connected. Maybe your hips are on your heels. Maybe they're on the blocks. Wherever you are in the base, then we can find that space to start bringing the torso forward. Start walking the hands forward. See where you land. As we fold into the last expression, iteration of our child's pose here, you might need the bolster in front of you. This is what I love about the big bolster or blocks that are big, whatever, to support the belly. If it's hard for your chest to meet the mat, this is a great way to support the body in the transition. In our child's pose here, we just want to release. So you might need, in the upper back, in this last portion, so you might need to just rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Whatever your last child's pose might look like. We're always concerned about neck safety, so make sure your head is supported. If you feel anything in the neck that's feeling too strained, if your head is just out there hanging. For some, the help of gravity, giving traction, a natural traction to the neck, feels wonderful. So see how it feels for you. And if you're one of those people that can just rest the chest on your inner area here or on the floor, that's great too. Wherever you end up landing, give yourself 5 good deep breath cycles to breathe. Even in this compressed fold, a good deep breath in will help to give your internal vitals a nice massage. Maybe the intercostal muscles might just stretch a fraction of an inch. Now, as you finish your very last couple breath cycles, go ahead. Imagine on the last exhale, you can inhale to place the palms down on the mat. Start pressing up the shoulders, pressing into the hands, drawing the hands towards the body so you can lift the torso. Once that torso is nice and long, we'll go ahead and lift up the seated position so we can draw the knees together. Go ahead and walk, remove any props and walk the hands forward so you can lift up into a tabletop. And we're moving into a Sphinx onto our belly. So one forearm down, one elbow down at a time. And I highly recommend just savoring being on the floor on your belly the first time you get here, especially since we've been flexing our hips for so long in the child's pose, fixed Fern, hero. So hopefully we're going to allow our muscles to remember how it felt to be open, like when we were standing, just trying to lengthen. And I'm concerned my mic won't hear while I'm on my belly here, but if your face is on pillowed hands, you can stay here, but you can also turn the gaze. You can also bring the palms to face up with the arms to the side. And your apple of your cheek is probably on the mat. So if you're on the side of your face, you just press into the chest and the pubic bone just slightly so you can turn the head to the other side. Just balance out the face turns. And notice if your shoulders are lifting. Sometimes that's part of that past activation, and we just need to let it relax. All right. So with the next inhale, we're going to start to draw the hands back under our body, under the shoulders, and start to walk the fingers upwards, lifting up the torso just slightly so we can support the torso with these tented 90-degree angled arms. And go ahead and get to the tips of your toes and start to lengthen through the legs. See if you can walk the leg out, just maybe a fraction to the side, so that your toes are pointed towards the corners of the mat. And it doesn't have to be wide. Just, if your legs don't move outward like that, that's okay. Just maybe a little bit, maybe letting the heels roll out. And then go ahead and come back to the tips of your toes, lengthen once more, extending through the heels. And then exhaling, letting the legs release back to the mat. And then just walk. Lift up the kneecap. Don't drag it, but lift up the kneecap with the help of your toes to walk the legs underneath the hips once more, nice and long. So now we're back at our long serpent-like leg position of zipping the legs together or underneath with a little space so that they're right out of the hips. But we're not pointing them towards the corner of the mat anymore. Now with the next inhale, we're going to lengthen from the belly all the way to the crown of the head by simply pressing into the forearms, palms, and the fingertips. And as we press gently downward in that forearm to fingertip area, we're gently pulling forward the torso, opening up at the top of the shoulders and lengthening. At the top of the inhale, let your gaze rest somewhere at the top of the mat in between your hands, in between your thumbs maybe. And breathe 5 good deep breath cycles. Don't let the shoulders cave in or the sides of your shoulder blades move towards the spine. Keep them nice and wide. And then after your last exhale, start to let the chest slowly lower, bringing out the elbows, and rest the forehead on pillowed hands. See if you can just let the shoulders relax and melt into the mat. And with the next breath, we'll meet on our back. You can find your way there in your favorite way. I like to extend my arm and just roll onto my back. And once I do that, I find myself off the mat. So just inching shoulders a little bit and then hips until I find myself back on the mat. Slow, soft movements. And we're meeting in our base bridge position. Hopefully you have your blocks nearby. And if you have a bolster, that's great too. Just have it near your hand. We're meeting with the base bridge position. The spine is aligned with the neck. The feet are about hips distance apart. Heels are within reach of the fingertips, but not up against the buttocks. Just give yourself a moment here. See if there's any pinched skin, any folded skin that needs to be straightened out. And then with the knees pointed towards the ceiling and the hands outstretched, maybe 6 inches or more from the hips. You want that upside down V with the arms. And pressing into the shoulders, arms, palms, and into the feet. We're going to inhale, start to slightly lift the hips just off the mat. Hover above there at a fraction, or power through by pressing into all points of the feet, but see where your first inhale helps you to lift your hips. If you're just hovering above the mat, that's great. You just want to engage the glutes slightly, the quads. You're pressing into the feet. Your core is engaged. Belly button is engaged. It's firm. And it's like you're sticking it to the spine, towards the spine. So you have a nice engaged core, and it'll help you to keep the hips lifted. Pressing into the palms are also your other forms of support. From the palms, to the arms, to the shoulders, even if you have your hips lifted high, you'll find less of the back on the mat, more of the shoulders. Now with the next exhale, we're going to slowly roll from that contact point at the shoulders, mid-back, wherever, at that back area, until we slowly lower each vertebra, and finally the hips, sacrum, down to the mat. Then let the glutes relax. Take a nice deep breath through the nose and out of the nose. And then if you have that block handy, we're moving into a supported bridge. So if you like supported bridge, that's where we bring the block on its flattest setting first to underneath the sacrum. And as you rest the sacrum onto the mat, that's your first indication of if that's a comfortable lift support for your hips. If you open up with a supported block underneath you, you can open up your bridge and lengthen your right leg. You're opening your hips. Inhale and exhale. Open the left hip by lengthening the left leg. You might find yourself with your knees tented and the heels only. You might find your feet are flat on the floor with an opening, a nice deep opening at the hips. Hopefully that back of the sacrum, it should be nice and flat. If you're feeling like it's uncomfortable, you can always place the feet back at the original spot of bridge. Secure your support positions of the arms, shoulders, and feet. Lift up and readjust the setting or the placement of the block. If you want a higher setting, try setting number 2. If you like to go to the top setting, that's up to you as well. But wherever you are, you want to feel stable. The point of support being right there above the tailbone at the flat of your sacrum, right there. And you're just allowing time and minor adjustments of the position to help you open up. And eventually, as you find that sweet spot, I'm a little higher up than I feel good. It was good when I started, but now I'm feeling a little more stress and struggle. I'm not comfortable and keeping a steady hold. So I'm going back to my first setting. And once you find that sweet spot, this is where that more yin-like hold comes in. Give yourself 5 deep breath cycles once you found that spot. Let the palms face up. If you have a good, comfortable support of the arms, back, and find that with each successive exhale, something just releases, hopefully. And as you reach your last breath cycle, if your legs are extended, we're going to inhale, start to bend the knees and draw the soles of the feet one at a time onto the floor. Your feet will start to creep closer towards your base bridge position. And once you find your feet are nice and flat and you can support
with your arms and your feet and any other point of contact of the upper body, pressing into those points and lifting up the hips slightly to remove any support. Slowly at this point, exhale from the point of contact of your back and move on down the spine until the very last thing are the hips to meet the mat. Release through the glutes. Make sure any pink skin is released. Make sure your spine and your neck are aligned, keeping the arms once more out to the side, palms down. We're going to just allow the knees to roll to one side. They're going to allow the feet to roll to the outer right edge. And your windshield wipe counter stretch here, just a release, a little step to release. And then we're going to inhale, bring the knees back up. And exhale to the edge on the other side, the edge of the feet on the other side. And just give yourself a few breaths here. Go ahead and inhale, pressing into your sacrum, the palms, the arms to help bring the knees back up to center. And then we're going to let the knees start to lower. If you have, we're moving into Shavasana, if you have a bolster and you know that you like your knees supported or a little rolled up towel underneath your lower sacrum, those two things, support under the knees and under the sacrum, will give your lower back a little more relief. If you find that laying on your back is difficult, try giving a little bit of support to underneath the space of the sacrum, at that small of your back, or underneath the knees. If you enjoy a full, long stretch, be comfortable in that way. But as we move into Shavasana, you'll have a short, guided body squeeze and contraction transition to Shavasana today. Sure. Good. So as you move into relaxing on your back, you can bring your arms out to the side, palms facing up, helps to keep the shoulders away from the ears, and just relax. Give yourself a little bit of time to kind of melt into your Shavasana pose. If you find that the tongue is stuck to the roof of the mouth, just let it release and be cradled by the bottom of your jaw. And as we move into a guided body squeeze meditation, I'm just going to call out several body parts and give yourself that moment to contract as I'm saying to contract, to squeeze and activate that part of your body. And then when I say release, you can just let go of all that activation you just did. And that combination of high activation and then immediate release actually helps your body to kind of transition and sail right into Shavasana. So giving ourselves that deep inhale and exhale to begin. Focus on your feet. With the next deep inhale, start to contract every muscle in your feet. You can curl your toes, you can curl everything you feel in your feet. Holding it and then release. Allow the feet to just roll away from each other and release. With the next slow inhale, you're going to start to contract the muscles in your feet, your toes, your calves, your quads. So your legs all the way down to your feet. Tight contraction all the way to the top of your inhale, and then release. Let the toes fall apart, feet roll away from each other. See if your glutes can just release. With the next slow inhale, start to contract the feet, the legs, the belly, and chest. See if you can engage the core. See if you can lift the perineum, that point of your root chakra, as if you're cutting off your urine pee flow. Just keep everything contracted, nice and tight, 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 and then release. Everything from the toes, the legs, the belly, Just let everything relax. Let the heart feel open. With the next slow inhale, start to contract everything in the lower legs, the feet, calves, quads, belly, chest, and the arms. Ball up your fists, everything from the neck down. See if you can just make it tight, tight, tight. And then exhale, release. Let the fingers unfurl. Let the toes and feet roll away. See if the belly is soft. With the next slow inhale, start to tighten everything in the body, from the feet, up the legs, to the belly, arms, balled up fists, even the face. See if you can grimace, even tighten. Tight, tight, tight. See if the top of your head can even contract. And then release. Release everything. Take a deep breath and feel the body melt into the mat. We're transitioning to the last, final resting pose of Shavasana. Let the body respond to today's practice. And in 5 minutes, we'll hear the bells to awaken.
Bringing the mind to the body. Take note of any sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose, the air as it exits the nose. And as you reconnect to the body once more, you can wiggle your fingers, hands, rocking the body, making your way back to an upright seated position. Go ahead and end class with our breathing exercise. It'll be a relatively short one as we're past 3 right now. So just bringing the hands to heart center. We'll do our hand prayer flow. So inhaling, pressing into the palms, hands up. Exhale, release the hands to the side. Bring them back up. Inhale, hands, heart center. Exhale, inhale, up. Exhale, out. One last time. Inhale, hands to heart center. Exhale, hands up. Inhale up. Exhale, hands out to the side. And meeting back here at hands at heart center. Thank you so much for joining me here at the ACC's Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.